I'm live streaming. And we are
Oh,
on. Let's go.
Hello there, everyone.
Hello, mates. Welcome aboard.
hello, mate. Welcome aboard.
Yeah,
Let's do a crew
that did not
check.
age too well.
Captain, here. PLT. That's you, Oz.
Of course, I'm
PLT.
making sandwich right now.
You know what's interesting? The Earth looks when you're close when you go closer to Earth, it will look flat, but it's actually round.
You ever seen the images of the Voyager probe? It took a picture of Earth from way out there. I couldn't help but notice
No,
a streak of light, or streaks of light actually, and one of them is almost like the Earth follows it. I couldn't help but notice the lighting effect in that picture.
so is it theoretically possible to build a time machine?
Build a what?
Build a time
To build a
machine.
time machine.
Not in the physical sense.
Oh,
The problem with time travel is that even though it's theoretically possible, well, it doesn't really mean that we have the ability to do that. But then there's also the problem with time travel. Now, people say it's impossible, but the reason why I would say that it's impossible is I mean, time travel, there's kind of a reason why I wouldn't use time travel. The reason the reason why is just because we can does not mean we should. And by time travel, you're suggesting that you travel back to a certain point in our history
Right.
and possibly mess up something.
same thing if we go to the future.
It's not really possible in the physical sense. So, but in theory,
We do have wormholes that where we can
but you
travel
know, I
faster.
theorize that time travel may be possible through like some kind of projection. So, let me explain my theory. You know how like material with mass can't physically travel faster than light, right? Pretty universal consensus among our scientists that faster than light travel is impossible, because Einstein calculated that an object with mass physically cannot travel faster than the speed of light in a vacuum. Well, that poses a bit of a problem, doesn't it? Because if we're going to reach those distances of like interstellar travel and you know, but that also means that time only goes forward as we experiencing. However, there's a theoretical mathematics where if a particle, if there is a particle that does travel faster than light, it theoretically is going backwards in time, because it's breaking the light barrier. So there's a theoretical particle called a tachyon. So I theorize if we can time travel, we wouldn't be able to interact with the world or the area that we travel to at all on a physical level, right? Nor can the world interact with us. So our essence would be non-material. Like, I theorize that if we were to be able to time travel, we would actually not be able to interact with that area in time on a physical level. But it'd be awesome if we can observe it. I think that'd be cool if we can observe a time that came before us and to be able to go there. But I theorize though that we actually won't be able to interact with anything in that space because we wouldn't be material if we were to be able to travel back in time. Because material implies mass, therefore mass cannot travel faster than light, and so so say if I was able to travel back in time, I would also have to account for where the Earth is in space, because we do know the Earth moves through space, but our star is also moving through space, which means I would have to somehow the time travel would have to somehow lock on to where the Earth was in that time period. Or I would just project somewhere in empty, just in outer space, you know. So I think that makes it tricky, doesn't it? Because our star is moving around the galaxy, and the Earth is moving around our sun. So first we would have to know where the Earth is in that time and the time. And that'd be quite tricky to lock on to, I think. Theoretically, though, if we could, or if I could, but I wouldn't be unable to interact with that world on a physical level at all. I would only be able to observe the area. According to the theoretical physical science that we know so far, or at least that I know of so far. But that'd be cool, wouldn't it? To be able to observe our planet, from the say like in the Cretaceous, or to actually be able to view something in the way that it actually happened in our history. There'd be no more lies about our history books then, would there? We'd actually be able to view the spot and what actually happened in the planet during that time. Wouldn't that be a great source of truth?
What would happen if you tried to interact with that world?
Physically, it would be impossible.
So it's like a viewer. It's like a full aisle that you can view.
Well, right. Well, dude, that would mean I would have to somehow be able to assemble my physical body on that planet in that time. Not sure if that's doable, but
we can also make wormholes. We can build the special quantum computers that can communicate to the wormholes from space to come back to Earth. And
I wonder perhaps
if
the quantum computer will probably be able to accurately calculate where the Earth is in that time, so we'd be able to quote unquote lock on to the position in space that I want to go to in time travel. But I just don't know. We don't know. I mean, I don't know if I would be able to physically interact with the world, though. I think it would be more like a projection. We'd be able to observe that area, but we would be unable to interact with it. That's what I theorize. But also, it would not be able to interact with us either.
That'll be kind of sad.
Yeah, that would be quite. Uh-oh. Right now,
Is that the
I'm
Earth
being
from the
chased.
past?
Oh.
I think that's how the Earth. From what I see from the screen, I think that's how the Earth looked like billions of years ago.
Yeah, likely before the crust cooled.
So how did Earth become a hot planet to a life planet?
Well, billions of years ago. You realize that all the planets that we see have formed from a nebulous, like hot gaseous material, and our sun did too.
Oh.
So, best way to think of it is a star forms when gas and other clumps of material create, like, they start to become gravitationally and electromagnetically attracted to each other, and it accumulates in the center. And when enough material in a nebula comes together, and with enough pressure and heat, is where the star initiates its nuclear fusion, right? And then a few billion years later, so however long it takes for a solar system to form, a sun is born, so nuclear fusion takes place at its core. However, a lot of the gases and asteroids and other material are still swirling around the sun. Quite a chaotic place in space, because no planets really have formed yet. But planets form because of when mass in space tends to attract to each other through gravitational pull. And when enough, say, asteroids and ice and other material clumps together, it becomes large enough to attract more material, and then when it becomes more like a planet-sized body, it starts to attract other materials to it, other asteroids and gas, and then a planet, when it's first formed, is basically a bunch of hot goop, essentially. Has no the crust hasn't hardened yet, it hasn't even formed. But when the mass gets big enough, a rocky planet, the crust will still be liquefied, so to speak. It'll be really hot, gaseous, be unable to support life as we know it at its proto stages. But the crust cools, and stellar bodies cool off the further they drift away from our sun, from the star, right? So through entropy, the crust cools. The further something is away from the star at the center of a solar system, the quicker it cools down, right? So eventually, our planet cooled to a degree where the crust hardened, and the planet settled down. It got to a point of homeostasis where the crust cooled. There was less. There's less and less volcanic activity, but my main question is how did water get to this planet, and the amount of it that we have on this planet? And well, there's a lot of ice. There's a lot of icy bodies in our asteroid belt, so we know this. And as we know, water cools at a certain temperature. Water becomes a liquid at a certain temperature. So therefore, liquid water, as as our world cooled, liquid water was able, you know, probably went from steam, cooled, rained, and then it became a liquid. Crust cooled, and we had a lot of ocean. Our water was, we had like a water world, perhaps. Maybe some land masses here and there. And then the polar ice caps. The Earth also, another thing that we have to account for is that the Earth has a magnetic field, and it's cooler at the top at the poles, which the magnetic field has something to do with our atmosphere, as far as I know. Life went extinct a few times at a microbial level, so I think the protogenitor of life went extinct twice before life was able to become multicellular on the planet. So it's like, as far as science, the mainstream science knows. But now we're at a point in our solar system, we're at a point in our solar system where more complex life was able to grow. So, like mollusks, insects, other things, and they had a chance to become multicellular life forms, phytoplankton and zooplankton. And then there was a change where there was an output of oxygen into the atmosphere. So, I think I broke my voiceover. You guys still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I think I broke it. But the planet had cooled to a degree, and the moon hypothesis was interesting too. The accepted theory on that is that Earth had an impact where that formed the moon. So material got spread out off of the Earth because the impact was large enough from another planetary body, where some material skipped off and then reformed as the moon. So, but life as we know it now, it's quite peculiar, isn't it?
Yeah, I remember hearing the planet that Earth collided with was named Titan.
Is that what they called it?
That's what it was called, supposedly.
So a planet called Titan is that's what they called the planet that impacted us. Well, I know Titan is a moon on Saturn now, right?
Or at least that's what I remember hearing, though.
Right.
I also wanted to add a little something to your time travel thing.
Yeah. What's that?
Now, I was also kind of thinking that since, well, even if time travel was possible and you were to time travel to a certain moment in history, that doesn't really mean you should. I mean, well, my reason for it is rather kind of simplistic almost, where you don't want to mess with the timeline, because whatever you do in the past will essentially affect the entire timeline.
Right, but physically, there's an impossibility there because, again, material with mass cannot travel faster than light, as far as we know, according to Einstein. So, what that would mean then is that physically, I can't be there. But theoretically, there could be a way to have almost like a projection. Like, it'd be, I think, you know, it'd be cool to be able to observe something that actually happened in the past. And I think that's what kind of what we're shooting for. So, because again, an object with mass cannot travel faster than light, therefore, but again, the theoretical particle of a tachyon moves faster than light, but it's inobservable because, well, we can only observe light. Again, we do kind of have like an eyesight bias for that, though. Excuse me. But there is, theoretically, again, we won't be able to change anything. If I theorize because I won't be able to physically be present, physically, in that past time period. I will actually, my body won't be able to go there. However, theoretically, I believe that it may be observable, but I will be unable to interact with anything in the past, and it also, the world won't be able to interact with me on a physical level. Does that make sense? I know it's kind of confusing.
Yeah.
Because if I were to be able to travel back in the past, I would have to literally become like a bunch of tachyonic particles that cannot interact with physical matter, and I also would have to be able to, first off, travel faster than light to be able to reverse the time dilation, in theory. But I will be unable to interact with the world that I am in, nor will it be able to interact with me. It'll be kind of like a projection. Only of some kind of tachyonic particle. But again, then the question is, how do we localize that? How do we localize that in a section of space to observe on the planet? That is quite the question. There are some kind of social theories floating around that eventually, in our human experience, that we will be able to time travel if it hasn't happened already. But, you know, I don't understand how I would be able to physically be present in the area that I wish to travel to if I am to be able to time travel. But it would be cool, it'd be neat to be able to observe what actually happens in that area in space and time. Well, there would also be some ethical things with that too, wouldn't there? You have to, you know, because
Yeah, and also,
I mean, we all know how many lies and how many stories have been twisted throughout history. You know, I mean, as further into the future we go, I think the less accurate history tells the truth. And then humanity tends to repeat its mistakes.
also, whenever I was mentioning, like the point that I was making doesn't exactly say whether it's possible to go back in time or not, whether or not it's possible to materialize in the past or not. It basically doesn't exactly rely on how it's possible, but it says even if you were able to do it and you were able to interact with the past, that doesn't really mean you should.
Again, dude, I just said I physically won't be able to. That's in my theory. Nor will it be able to interact with me. One moment, I apologize. There we are.
Ship ordered at shipyard.
ship.
Singularity engine gate. Ocracoke's storm.
Oh, it's gonna be a long flight.
Shipyard. Docking granted. Autopilot activated.
Persistence. That will resist will persist.
Singularity engine time accelerator not installed.
Interesting. Huh? Didn't expect that.
I mean, partially the reason why I don't talk about time travel is simply because of the fact that it's just theoretical. It's not like you can actually do it.
That's still a fun topic to talk about, though. If we were to be able to time travel, where would you like to go? What time period?
I mean, if I'm going to be honest here, I would like to experience the 2000s, like the United States of America of the 2000s, like not as a child, but as an adult.
Yeah.
Successfully docked.
Welcome aboard this Yaki station, pilot. Enjoy your stay.
Connection to local trading network.
That was before
Sometimes
cell
I was-
phones, for the most part, wasn't it?
Yeah, the 2000s was a different time period. The 2000s was a different time period.
Yes, it was.
I'll go to bed soon. Good night.
Alright, good night, man.
Good night. Anyway, I personally feel that the 2000s would have been a perfect time. I mean, excluding the late part of 2001.
Hmm. 2001. Oh. Is that when the terrorists attacked?
Yeah. Tomorrow is the 20, I think like the 22-year anniversary since September 11th of 2001. It's the 23-year anniversary of the character attacks in 2001, September 11th of 2001.
Yeah.
Yeah, and on top of that, I personally also kind of feel that I also kind of feel it's just one of those scenarios that besides that, I mean, I would really have loved to have lived in the 2000s, especially considering the fact that the United States of America was a different place back then.
Yeah.
But the only difference is, unlike, unlike now, where the U.S. every time a certain person gets killed by the police, it goes into like a nationwide risk of riot. I mean, the 2000s were a simpler time.
Oakham Coast.
Yeah. You think there was simpler time back then?
Oakham Coast. Storm.
Yeah. Everything felt simpler back then.
Yeah. I remember. I was at Darden Elementary when it happened.
I was a year old, so I was not old enough to understand what was going on. And one of the only things I remember from the early 2000s was seeing this, if we're talking specifically about September 11th, I do remember seeing this documentary at the time, which was like brand new at the time, where it just showed interviews where even a child was talking about how the Twin Towers were gone and so forth. It even showed a man that was talking about how one of the towers had collapsed.
A real problem back then, though, and boy, it was bad back then, was homophobia. Boy, oh, it was terrible back then. You know, people died over that. Like, people got killed as like a hate crime for that back then. You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's an unfortunate truth about the time period, but some people say that because of the fact that the way things were back then were simpler, but at the same time, for like the gay community, that's basically where it was not normal. Like they had to keep their sexuality under wraps.
Yeah. Yep. And another problem too is that anyone who was like neurodivergent was essentially persecuted by the own education system that tries to bring them up. I know, I lived through it.
Savage Spur.
Sometimes, I mean, I myself think it's just the way things are mostly, like you have to be careful how you say things on YouTube. Otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
things will not actually be taken as if you're saying.
Again, I don't know how much you would have liked it back then as an adult now, because autism, I think people were afraid of it back then.
Empire's Edge.
You could say that again.
I actually believe it was worse back then. Because I remember, like, I was in elementary school at Darden at the time, but when the Twin Towers were hit, I remember that the attitude towards people like me got significantly worse, and I struggled in school, but I didn't fully understand why. I didn't understand why people were treating me differently, and, you know, that sort of thing. It was a strange time. So, people who were either it be gay or autistic or any of that were treated. Oh, dude. So I don't know how much you would have liked it back then, even like as an adult.
I mean,
If
the
I'm to be
way
honest.
people talk about the 2000s though makes it sound as if it would be a good place to visit.
Perhaps.
Like the way they talk about, like the way in particular they talk about it, like saying how the 2000s were a much simpler time.
Is that how
That
people are saying? Yeah.
they try to say that the U.S., like the way the United States used to be, is exactly how people say Russia is today, supposedly. But the thing is, the Russian government is different from the U.S. government.
Oh.
Now, there are like some people that are trying to sit there and say, or that are saying, that the way people want to make the United States of America, at least the people in power, is similar to what's happening in South Africa, where basically South Africa is still kind of racially segregated, but except instead of the minority having control, it's the majority that's essentially treating the minority like crap,
Yaki, Fujin,
basically
Hmm.
discriminating against them and all that.
Goner,
Of
Ranger,
course, I shouldn't try to get political because this is controversial.
Yeah. Let's be careful going there, bud.
You know what? Let's change the topic.
Yaki, Fujin,
Well, what kind of pencil sharpener did you have when you were younger?
Ha! Yep, it was a classic. The old. It was the one. Every one of them had them on the wall.
There was this one pencil sharpener that I had that was like an F14 Tomcat pencil sharpener, but my stepmom, she bought this cheap replacement telling me that I shouldn't have an airplane pencil sharpener because she didn't want me showing that I liked airplanes.
Again, typical boomer oppression against people like us.
Yeah, and my stepmom was born in the 1970s, and she thought, oh, well, let me just control what Daniel has and what he doesn't.
Oh,
What
that's
he
not.
doesn't.
Wait a minute. That's not baby boomers in that. That's like Gen X, but still. Shitty attitude, you know? It's your passions, and yet you were. Your interests were suppressed to a degree that seemed. I mean, you see it for what it is now as an adult.
That's the thing about it. I mean, she didn't care how I saw it.
No.
I mean,
And
even
not
I
only,
myself.
like, it doesn't seem like she not only not care, but it seems like it was against you as an individual, which is. I don't know what to say about that, bud.
Yeah, I mean, both my stepmom and dad, they basically sat there trying to sit there and say that I was obsessed with airplanes when I was just very interested in airplanes and so forth.
Yeah, you have a savant for it. You have a real interest in it. As do I. You were able to name more of them than I could at the air zoo. I was genuinely impressed by that.
Now, I was told that was
It was so
impulse.
honestly, Daniel, it was so good to see you in your element there. When I took you to the air zoo. That was fun. That was fun. Dude, a fellow aviation enthusiast.
Of course, I mean, if anything, there's kind of partially a reason why I myself just don't really care about what my stepmom and dad say anymore.
Yeah,
'Cause
so your step parents' opinion of this is literally no longer relevant.
Susanova,
it's no longer relevant because, well, let's be honest here, they wouldn't care either way.
So let's go our own way then, shall we?
Well, anyway.
And follow our interests. Where's he going? Thank you. Didn't expect that. Awesome.
Successfully docked.
In the name of Priest Emperor Zard, our priest Duke welcomes all friends of the Pyramid aboard.
Connection to local trader network established. This service is a time-limited special available only. Your cargo bay extension installed. Rudder optimization installed. Docking computer installed. Freight scanner, mineral scanner installed. Patrol command software installed. Singularity engine time accelerator installed. Triplex trading system
There we go.
extension installed. A weapon
And plus on top of that, me personally, I really don't care if it tells me that, like me naming every single aircraft at an air museum is impulse or not.
high energy plasma.
I mean, I've been told that me being able to identify every single plane that I saw was impulse, but that's not what I'm calling it.
No, you have a natural affinity for it.
Plasma thrower, high energy plasma thrower, high energy plasma thrower, high energy plasma thrower installed.
And on top of that, I already know that I like aviation.
You and I gotta try out that Discovery flight sometime, bud.
Yeah, I know. That would have to be during my birthday trip, though.
Wait, I remember though, you said you flew a plane before, haven't you?
Yeah, it was during my civil control day.
That's awesome, bud.
Fujin, Raider.
All at the age of 14.
Target is now in firing range. Yagi, Fujin, Sentinel. Yagi, Fujin, Sentinel. Yagi, Raiju.
Priest Emperor Zard, our priest Duke offers grateful thanks for your aid.
Yagi, Raijin, Sentinel.
Ha! He bailed. Yes.
Yagi, Fujin, Sentinel.
It's not yours. Your death will be our profit.
Yagi, Fujin, Raider.
It's gonna need more than a bandage. Gotcha. Or, I should say, it's gonna need more than bulkheads.
Right.
Where are you going?
Anyway, Alex,
What's up? Yo.
should I just Albie during your...
What's that?
Should I call you Big Al during...
Yes, please.
Oh, sorry, Big Al.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah.
I don't care. It's alright.
So, Big Al, you do remember when... Okay, so you remember when I was actually planning on watching anime, you know, the anime that I bought from RamenCon 2023, and I decided to put on X Driver the movie.
Yeah, that was a good movie.
I mean, funny enough, I actually remember seeing that on Tubi TV before I bought. Like, let's just say this: if I decided to buy RamenCon 2022, I would have therefore had something to. I would therefore would have had the pass for RamenCon 2. But at the same time, that trip I didn't barely spend anything.
Those look big. Oh boy. What's he shooting at?
Oh. Wait, that big ship shooting at you?
No. But it's trying to get the little one. But I don't want one of those rounds hitting my ship.
Target left fire target is now in fire.
Ah, got him.
Good shooting.
Thank you.
I mean, okay, so I think it was like yesterday. Wait, was it yesterday when we were talking about pit bulls, and of course Con was defending them, and you had the voice changer on?
He's defending what he believes in, doesn't he? Isn't he?
Yeah.
Welcomes all friends of the Pyramid aboard.
I shouldn't have been
Well,
laughing at that.
what's
but
that?
It was the voice changer I was laughing.
Oh, that's okay, bud. I'm learning the technology as I go along. Right on. That was fun. I think I'm gonna leave the. I think I'm gonna sign off here. That was fun. It's a good little session. All right, Daniel. This is Alpha Lima Hotel 617. Powering down, and have a good night. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Good night.